All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our meeting today. It is Monday, April 14th, 2025, and it's just after 5:30 p.m. This is a public meeting of the School Board of West Bend School District Number 1. More than 24 hours prior to the meeting, notice of the time, place, date, and subject matter of this meeting was posted at the entrance doors of the Education Service Center and on the district website. It was also sent to the West Bend Community Memorial Library, the Daily News, WRYU, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and other media sources that have requested notice of our meetings. I'm just going to pause to ask Superintendent Wimmer to confirm that this meeting was properly posted.
Yes, it was.
Great, thank you. Please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We recognize a quorum of our board present, all 7 members present tonight. Next on our agenda is to consider approval of this agenda, which was posted in advance. I would move to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Melanie. We have a motion and second to approve the agenda. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries, and our agenda is approved. We're going to continue now with several recognitions. We're going to start with recognition for West Bowling for state, and we're going to ask Erin Felber, our West Athletic Director, to come to the podium and introduce us.
Hello, thank you for having us. So if you notice, we're one short here. Our actual bowler, who's a state qualifier, is home with the flu today. However, he's watching the live stream, so we're going to have Coach Paul Vogie tell you a few things about Jared Becker.
First, I want to say thank you guys for having us and doing all your support for the not only bowling sport, but all of the sports for the West Bend West and East High School. So as Ms. Felber said, my name is Paul Vogie. I'm the West Bend West bowling coach. We had one person make it to singles for state. Unfortunately, our team did not do quite so well, but the single bowler, Jared Becker, did an excellent job throughout the year. He came in second in district out of the 70 boys that bowl in the district with a BER of 64.7%, so that was pretty good. The BER is a little different this year. It takes consideration of your multiple strikes that you throw together along with all your fill percentage. So he made it to state. Where only the top 110 boys of the state go and make it. First round, he placed 13th out of those 110, making it second way to semifinals. He moved on to the second finals on March 8th, and unfortunately was throwing the ball really well, but the pins just did not cooperate with him, where he ended up 27th in the state. The only other note that I want to make with Jared is he did throw the highest game at state this year, which was a 290. So, and those that don't know bowling, that's spear in the first frame and then man the next 11 strikes. So, not a very easy task. So, I'd like to congratulate Jared on making it to state.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for him. Jared, if you're listening from home, congratulations, and we sure hope you feel better soon. We'll move then to state recognition of ProStar Culinary Competition Team, and I believe Ms. Sally Hoyer is here. Ms. Hoyer is our culinary and hospitality instructor. All right, excellent. Come on up. Sure.
Right in front of me.
You bet. Come on up and face us, that way the folks at home can see you on the camera, so that's perfect.
So thank you for taking the time to recognize the students standing in front of you. There are many great things happening at our high school, and our culinary program is just one example. The 4 people standing in front of you, as well as one young lady who is playing lacrosse tonight, represented West Bend at the state ProStart competition at Madison College in March. For those of you that don't know what this involves, this is something that the students sign up for and they have to try out for, so it really is the best of the best. And they have 1 hour to produce 2 identical 3-course meals using nothing but 2 butane burners, no electricity, no refrigeration. They have to cost it all out. They have to perfect their timing. They have to take all of their equipment, all of their food. It's quite an undertaking. And so they've practiced for, 2.5 months in order to be able to do this. Personally, I think they did amazing the day that they performed. And it's like any athletic contest. It's who shows up and who just happens to tweak the right thing. So our team ended up taking 7th place, which is, I'm very pleased with that. Years ago, when we first started doing competition, I think we were like 23rd. So, you get better every year that you participate. And I couldn't be prouder of these 4 young people plus Georgia Jansen. So I'd like to introduce them to you. It was our manager, Vanessa Jackson, Stephanie Granick, who is one of our seniors, Mason Indiraj, who worked on our starter, and Adam Hasenstein, who was integral in our main entree. So I just want to tell you what they prepared. Superintendent Wimmer had the honor of taste testing. I helped them practice. She happened to be in the right place at the right time. And so she got to sample steak tartare on a smoky crepe with a yuzu vinaigrette, fried shallots, and chive batons. She had seared scallops with carrot puree, king oyster mushrooms, and fried Brussels sprouts with a yuzu vinaigrette. And then a black sesame tart with yuzu ginger chantilly cream and homemade almond brittle. So do you have any comments about what you ate?
Well, it was pretty amazing, and I did share the desserts. They had some leftover desserts. We happened to be having a meeting, so we raffled those off with some of their former principals and everyone. But watching them in the practice, it's like they're moving silently, they're moving quickly. Vanessa was on point, giving direction in that, and it's just amazing. It's something like you'd see on TV with, a culinary competition. I can't imagine the stress. And the dishes were amazing and nothing that we would probably come up with at home. They had to have like a theme, an inspiration, and they all then, when they present, it's not just cooking it, they must present to you what they've done, how they've prepared it, and tell you about the dish as well. So very impressive. Thank you for representing West Bend.
Nice job, guys.
Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations. Round of applause also.
And to kind of piggyback on that,
Sure, coming up. So we'll just announce this next on our agenda then is state recognition for National ServSafe Food Manager Certification. Come on up and kind of surround Ms. Hoyer there.
yeah, you too. Not you, just you two. So the young men and women standing in front of you right now happen to be in year 1 of our ProStart program. Just to clarify what ProStart is, that is a 2-year culinary program put out by the National Restaurant Association. These kids spend 2 full years with me, but many of them, well, all of them in front of you right now, this is their first year, and one of the positives about this is that they can earn their National Food Manager Certification, which is a 5-year certification that, as I tell them, even if you're not going to go into the culinary field, you're probably going to work there as you are in college or tech school or wherever, because that's where the jobs are that will work around your crazy schedules. And there is good money to be made. So we spent about 9 weeks, twice a week, studying safety and sanitation at its finest. If you think about it, every food service facility, whether it's a hospital or a cafeteria at a school or a restaurant, a nursing home, anything like that that has and serves food, has to have certified food managers on staff, at least one. In fact, she's sitting down now, but Stephanie, who is on the competition team, is the one and only person at her place of employment that holds the ServSafe certification. So it's a pretty important thing. So these kids worked really hard and diligently, and it is a 90-question test. And it's not just learning the basic facts, but learning how to apply the information, which I think we have an advantage to doing that because we do have our own restaurant at the high school. And so when we're talking about air gaps, we can go into the kitchen and I can say, okay, this is the air gap and this is why it's here and this is what you do with it. We had 24 students this year earn this certification, and they work all over our community. So I'm going to give you their names, and if you are here, just step forward, okay, raise your hand, something, all right. Elodie Drow was not with us, but she works at Dunkin' Donuts, and Hannah Galerovich also works at Dunkin' Donuts, and she is not here. Javon Hayes is busy at work tonight at Taco Bell. Kyle Rosinski is with us tonight. He works at the YMCA, but his dad also owns a really nice restaurant down by Costco in Menominee Falls, so he can put his skills to use working there. Kylie Hahn is, she works at Marshall's, but she is also playing lacrosse tonight. Tina Lee. Tina is integral to our operations at NIFTY in that she is that one person who constantly wants to come in and help out whenever and wherever she can, and we are very thankful. She is a master fry cutter. She will cut approximately 250 pounds of potatoes each week. So she's amazing. Mason Baldy, okay, he's one of our sophomores, and we don't have a lot of sophomores in our Pro Start program. Because you have to be 16 by the time you take this test. And Mason just earned the right to be a cook at the Great Outdoor Supper Club. Isabella Butsky, you can move forward. She works at the Parkside in Newburgh, so if anybody goes there, she is there. We have Ruby Elizalde, who is not with us tonight. Micajah Emery, another young lady who is with us and works at Ollie's. Then we have Mason Indiraj and Vanessa Jackson. Both of them are members at Dooley's, so if you've been there. Georgia Jansen, as I said, is playing lacrosse tonight. Colton Multer works for the Park and Rec, but he has a baseball game tonight, so he couldn't be with us. Garen Brickner is actually self-employed and was with us tonight. Caleb Hillshafer works at Grappling Gardens, and he also works on a farm, so he's able to use those skills that way. John Caper, he is another one of our sophomores, and I'm going to throw you under the bus, John. Okay, when John first signed up for this class, well, he didn't really sign up for it. He got put in it. And so he's like, I don't know that I want to stay. And I was like, just stick it out. I promise you, you're going to learn something. And so we're really glad that he stayed and he earned his certification. We have Ben Krieger, who used to work at Buffalo Wild Wings and now works at Menards and who couldn't be with us. Mason Mix, who works at Glacier Hills Credit Union, and he's also playing baseball tonight. Damian Pulowski is at Dairy Queen. Max Rogers works at the Brazen Head Pub. Mark Schlamer, who couldn't be with us tonight. Cora Sloan, who is homesick today. And Zane Wallstrom, who couldn't be with us tonight, who works at Culver's. So as you can see, this allows these kids to work in a variety of settings. And those opportunities that they have because of this, for some of them, it's simply they got a raise because they had that certification. For some of them, it gets them into the kitchen instead of being the host or hostess. And for others, it just gives them an opportunity to say, hey, I have a vast amount of knowledge that nobody else has. So I think it's an honor that they got to be representing us tonight, and thanks, guys, for coming.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to recognize all the students, and thank you so much for coming. We just ask for the students' attention for one more item here. We have a student representative report. I believe Mr. Noah Minty is here tonight. Noah is a senior at West and is going to tell us what's going on in the district and at our schools. Noah.
Thank you so much. I will be covering student life and academics and clubs and co-curriculars today. So let's get started. Starting out with National Merit Scholarships, finalists include Samantha Eckert from West, Evelyn Wolf from East, and Elise Riedel from West was named a commended student, recognized for her exceptional academic promise. The National Speech and Debate Association has recognized some special awards to certain students. From West, Sophia Leese and Nicholas Morrison earned a merit, and from East, Annalise Bechesney earned a merit. The 7th Annual Autism Awareness Soup Night is on Monday, April 28th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the East High School cafeteria. This event raises additional funds to support the West Bend School District Special Education Program. The bowls are made by students, and the soup is from more than 20 area restaurants. On to clubs and co-curriculars. The West Bend High School musical Little Shop of Horrors was nominated for 13 Jerry Awards, including Outstanding Musical, Outstanding Ensemble, Outstanding Orchestra, Outstanding Lead Performance from Shay Fighter as Audrey and Mason Warzak as Seymour, Outstanding Supporting Performances from Mags Isaacson, Luke Fredericks, Sydney Brosler, Tatiana Patrick, and Chloe Bauer, Outstanding Musical Direction, Outstanding Scenic Design, and Outstanding Stage Crew. West Bend High School Stuco won the Wisconsin Association of Student Council Spirit of Excellence in State Award, recognizing the amazing things about our high school, such as the blood drive and charity week. On April 1st and 2nd, the Skills USA team attended State Leadership and Skills Conference. Several people took gold and broke to nationals. A few others took silver and bronze. The West Bend United Forensics team attended the WFCA State Tournament. West Bend competitors took 6th and 7th in Student Congress and 3rd in Extemp Speaking. West Bend FBLA attended their state conference in Green Bay 2 weeks ago, placing 18th in the state as a whole, with 4 students qualifying to nationals and many medals won. The West Bend High School FCCLA ended their state conference with 3 people qualifying for nationals. Special shout out to Gianna Temez for placing 1st in fashion design and construction. And then to introduce herself and cover athletic achievements, here we have Haley Kister.
Hi, my name is Haley Kister, and I'm a junior at West Bend East High School, and I will be your school board rep next year. I would like to introduce the student athletics. On March 9th, the WIAA Division II State Gymnastics meet was held, where West Bend East Junior Senior McKenna Orth won gold on floor and all around, breaking a school record of 9.65 and 37.1834. Another East gymnast, Maddie Rummel, placed 2nd on floor exercise. The East Gymnastics team placed 9th overall and was the first team appearance in 19 years. Ella Genesee from West Bend West finished 28th on bars. The Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association Academic All-State team named West varsity players Maddie Bell, Sam Eckert, Paige Goose, and Riley Weber onto the team for holding a 3.5 GPA or higher. Similarly, for East, Violet Zier, Ella Alft, Kara Hesse, Nora Ressler, and Chloe Miller were named to the Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association Academic All-State team for their 3.5 GPA or higher. East and West students Quinn Benedict, Will Kaiser, and Gavin Schnobel competed at the Copper Mountain USASA National Championships for snowboarding this week. Congrats to Gavin and Will for placing. In February, the Ice Bears hockey team held its annual military night to raise funds to support our troops. They raised a total of $4,000, and a family sponsored the campaign to support our Gold Star family service members and projects. Dolphins shows in April. Roll Out the Red Carpet is the theme for the 2025 Dolphins Synchronized Swim Team performances at East and West High Schools, one of the very few high school synchronized swim teams in Wisconsin. The Dolphins provide an entertaining event. Performances will be held at 7 p.m. on April 24th, 25th, and 26th, and a matinee at 1 p.m. on April 26th. 3 placed at State Indoor Track Meet. 3 West High School students placed at the Wisconsin State Indoor Track and Field Championships on April 5th. Josephine Mesa took 3rd in the triple jump. Ava Banks took 4th in the triple jump, and Riley Failing took 6th in the 400-meter dash. Thank you for listening to the great things happening in our school.
Haley, thank you, and Noel, thank you as well for keeping us apprised as to all the great things going on in the district. We appreciate it very much. So we also understand this is the time of the meeting where I invite everyone, because it's a public meeting, to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we also know that some people may have some things to do and homework and things like that. So we'll just take a pause, and if anyone wishes to depart the meeting at this time, please feel free. We'll kind of get back together here in a minute after the room is cleared. Thank you to everyone for coming. We appreciate it very much. Maybe what I will do in the meantime is take the opportunity for our next agenda item, which is public participation. I do not have any public participation comment cards, so I'm just going to look out at those who remain. I do not see any. So we'll move on then to our consent agenda. And on our consent agenda tonight, we have minutes of the March 17, 2025 regular board meeting, minutes of the March 3rd, 2025 regular board meeting, amended at the request of Head Start. We have 6 contracts. We have no resignations or retirements. We have a request for out-of-state trip, West Bend High School's band, the 2025-2026 Food Service Purchasing Cooperative Agreement, and the 2025-2026 Food Distributor Agreement, a donation of an alignment machine for the high school automotive program, and disbursements posted to April 11th, 2025. Does anyone have any questions on any of the items that are on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd move that we approve this consent agenda. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Temez. We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The consent agenda passes. It carries. We move then to reports, and we have our canvass report from the April 1st, 2025 spring election. And I believe normally our clerk would read that, but our clerk was a candidate this time around, so we are going to ask June Kruger, our treasurer, to please read the canvass report from the April 1st, 2025 spring election. June.
Thank you, Chris. The Board of Canvassers met on Friday, April 4th, 2025 at 4 p.m. to canvass the votes from the spring 2025 election. The total number of votes cast for School Board of West Bend Joint School District Number 1 was 29,438, of which Joe Pickler received 10,225 votes, John Donaldson received 8,530 votes, Melanie Ergot received 10,410 votes, and there were write-in votes totaling 273. Joe Pickler and Melanie Ergot were each elected to a 3-year term expiring April of 2028. They will officially take office on Monday, April 28th, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions with regard to the Board of Canvassers report? All right, June, appreciate that very much. We move then to our superintendent's report. Superintendent Wimmer.
I'd like to welcome the Scout Troop 780 from West Bend. They are working on their citizenship in the community badge, and they are here with us observing a civic meeting. So thank you for joining us this evening. I'd also like to call out Mr. Noah Minty, who glossed over in the student report the kids who are representing nationally for skills. So I would like to highlight that representing West Bend at the national competition for Skills USA this summer, Atlanta, will be first place in extemporaneous speaking, Noah Minty. First place in digital cinema production, Ryder Margolowski, Emerson Poppendorf. First place in video news production, Rowan Bondlander, Olivia Friedman, Kristen Nelson, and Ella Boyle. And first place in photography, Alex Lukaskiewicz. So just thank you, and notice he was being a little bit humble there at the podium. So congratulations. Anytime our students represent us at the state or national level is something that we're immensely proud of. So thank you to those students, and I'm sure after they compete, we'll have them in to talk about that experience. Also, just a general reminder to all students and staff, Friday is an off day, Friday, April 18th, so we hope everyone has a long extended break, and it's in recognition for many for the Easter holiday. So also, we've been hard at work for our referendum. So we don't have construction workers or hard hats or excavators on the ground, but there's a lot of work that's been occurring behind the scenes. So in preparation for some improvements that are made possible by our referendum. You're hearing about the borrowing, you've heard a little bit about the financial, and you'll hear a little bit more tonight from Lenny Hansen. But I just wanted to give another progress update. So there's been a significant amount of behind-the-scenes work in preparation for those improvements. So since December of 2024, the district's partnered closely with both EUA and Findorf on design, project planning, scheduling, and we intend to have detailed project updates with a formal presentation to the board in both April and May. We've talked about kind of accelerating some of those timelines. We intend to start work at both McLean and Green Tree on those secure entries, some of those improvements this summer. And since Again, that kind of semester break, we've been working on designing and talking about the new Jackson Elementary School. That's been a highly collaborative process. We've had full staff as well as some representatives from that staff who have participated in school tours at other schools. We've had multiple all-staff meetings. We had probably my favorite exercise, and we're going through that, I will bring that back, is student input of what they love about their current school and what they'd like to see in their new school. And it's amazing what they write. So of course I've got a couple, like they would like a full zip line and a swimming pool, maybe some things I can't make true, but their recognition around their environment, like we really like how wide our hallways are right now. Make sure the new school has wide hallways. We like our library. Here's what I want to see in the library. So they actually give some very informed pieces. And we had 2 engagement activities with families, both last week at the PTO meeting, and then I was at the Carnival Friday night gathering input, and then they'll have an opportunity through a survey. Again, same thing, thinking about what it is that they would like so that we have a broad range of voices reflected in that design process. So that was really important to us. So when we have all that together, we will synthesize those results and make sure and share them with the board. I'd also like to recognize East Junior Vincent Zerbis, who received a National Gold Medal in the 2025 Scholastic Art and Writing Awards for his drawing called Time's Inescapable Grasp. So in June, Vincent and his family will be traveling to New York to attend the awards ceremony and receive his award at Carnegie Hall. So to achieve a gold medal at the national level is a great achievement, but for perspective, he was one of 110,000 teens who entered more than 310,000 original works of art to be judged and selected for that level. So congratulations to Vincent. Also, our students were recognized at a recent Wisconsin Association of School Councils convention. Both the East and West High School Student Council cleaned up on awards, and that's saying it kindly. Advisors for this active group of students are Skip Clark, Alex Elke, Randy Risen. Our students took first place among all student councils in the state for the Spirit of Excellence Award. Our council created a large portfolio that highlighted all of their events and activities throughout the year to win this recognition. They also won a gold level award for Best Project, Scrapbook, Banner, and Creative Marketing, and a silver level award for Best T-shirt Designs. And Skip Clark received the Region 4 Advisor of the Year Award. So congratulations, and again, thank you to our students for representing West Bend. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Wimmer on her report? All right, then hearing none, we'll move to our bond issuance update, and Mr. Lenny Hansen, our Assistant Superintendent, will walk us through this item. Mr. Hansen, good evening.
Good evening. I'm just going to bring up presentation here. Okay. So we last had a board meeting about a month ago on March 17th, and at that meeting, there was a number of action pieces that took place around bond issuance. So there's been a lot that's taken place since then that we're here to update the board on today. So number of things have taken place. So starting with that parameters resolution that was approved by the board back on St. Patrick's Day, all of these additional items that you see here are now have either taken place or are coming up. So we're going to walk through those real briefly just to give you and the community an idea of how this process is proceeding. There's a number of partners in this process that we've talked about some of them more than others. Certainly you've heard about PMA, the financial advisor, the underwriter, Baird before, but there's also a number of other players that have a hand in this process. You know, we're talking about, in this case, $80 million in bonds being issued. So there's a lot of pieces from the legal side and a number of areas that come together to make this happen. So if we recall back on March 17th, we had a parameters resolution that was brought forth to the board that was approved. That provided parameters to the administration that any bond sale must abide by. So some of those parameters were the date range of when a sale could take place, what the maximum interest rate was that would be allowed, the term, which was 20 years, and then the amount to be sold, which again is $80 million for this sale. And as you recall from that discussion, the remaining $26.25 million will most likely be sold next year then as part of, that's been part of the strategy since the beginning to split those up for a variety of reasons that we talked about at the last meeting. So upon that approval from the board, that led us into the S&P credit rating, where the district's credit rating is updated by S&P, which we've all heard of as one of the big agencies that does that throughout the country. The district's current rating at the time was a AA-. The target given to us by Baird, or a realistic target, was to maintain AA-. It was for a couple of reasons. There certainly were a number of positive things in our favor, such as paying off the previous debt that the district had. However, when you balance that against the fact that the district was about to issue new debt, Baird really said that, the best case scenario most commonly would be remaining at a AA-. The district also has a strong financial position for a number of reasons, so we felt confident we'd be able to hit that target. To accomplish that goal, there were a number of things that took place. The district provided a high number of records and information to S&P that they review to try and assess the financial health of the district. And then the superintendent and I were grilled for about an hour and a half by a couple of different analysts from S&P, which was a delightful process, and that then resulted in the rating update, which took place the following week. And we received unexpected but excellent news, which is that the district's credit rating was actually upgraded from a AA- to a AA, which places the district in the top 19% of school districts throughout the state that are rated by S&P. What does that really translate into, all that work? It gives the district a better chance of obtaining a more favorable interest rate on the bonds that it issues. More favorable interest rate helps the taxpayers because that is less payment on interest that has to be paid over the life of the bonds. So we took that good news, and S&P provided us with a number of reasons, and these are S&P's words, not ours, as to a number of the factors that played a role in that upgrade. Certainly they looked at the district's financial health and saw a number of positive items, which you see there. They also look at the city and county and region's financial health as well, and we definitely would be remiss if we didn't give a little shout out to both the city and the county. The analysts from S&P do research on the community, and first thing they said when we turned our attention to this topic was, is this farmer's market really as good as it says online? And so we were ready. We were ready with that answer. We jumped right into it, talked about our experience there. But seriously, the marketing job that the city has done to market a lot of the positive things going on in the area really resonated, and you could hear that from the research that the analysts had done, and then also the work that the county has done to advertise the health of especially West Bend being in a main corridor of the community. All of that factored into really painting a really comprehensive, positive picture of the financial health of our community, which was one of the factors that played a role in there. It plays a smaller role compared to all the other pieces around 5-year financial trends and things like that, but all in all, great news as we led into the next step, which was the actual sale of bonds. So our target date in that parameters resolution was April 1st. The target interest rate was communicated many, many months ago before the referendum even went to voters around at a 4.75%, which at that rate would have resulted in that $106.25 million principal, resulting in $165 million repayment of principal plus interest. There were a number of factors that were on the table and being discussed between the administration, Baird, and PMA daily in the run-up to the sale. There were, national economic environment, things going on there. We talked about different interest rate expectations and so forth. So the outcome was extremely favorable to the district. So instead of a 4.75% interest rate, the bonds were sold at what came out to be a 4.42% interest rate. That results in substantial savings to our taxpayers in interest payments over the life of these bonds. That reduces that $165 million potential maximum repayment amount by at least $8 million down to $157 million over the life of the bonds. Now, we do not believe we are done lowering that amount, as we have $26 million more of bonds to sell next year, so hopefully we can have a similar outcome there, and that would even further reduce that interest obligation. But altogether, it's good news for our taxpayers and our community that we were able to come in pretty substantially under that initial target. So what are the next steps from where we go from here? So just like selling your house, the date of the sale is not the date of the closing. So that's really where we head to now. And the closing is this Wednesday. That is the actual final sale of the bonds. And on that date, the district will actually receive the proceeds of $80 million from the investors that purchased the bonds. That leads us to the next step of where do we place those dollars to best benefit the district and the community, and leads us into the opportunity to earn interest while those dollars stay in an account until it's time to pay contractors for the work done. As the superintendent just talked about, we don't have hard hats out and we don't have shovels in the ground yet, but we will soon. But between now and then, the district has the opportunity to earn interest. We'll also be looking at how we manage arbitrage potential liability there, and that will lead us into another item that's later on the agenda under action, which is working with a proceeds management agency that provides financial advising to the district about how to best place those dollars at this time. So the last piece that took place in there that I didn't call out is we definitely want to thank Mr. President, the clerk, Ms. Aragot, and our treasurer, Ms. Kruger, because they got to sign, 30 to 40 different documents as part of this process. And thank you for your flexibility as we made all of that come together. But at this point, you're done signing. We're really just here waiting for Wednesday when those dollars appear in our accounts. So questions about that process?
Board members, any questions? So ultimately, and we'll talk about this more, but if the proceeds are deposited, they earn interest, so essentially that money can be used to kind of offset the district's liability, correct? So
yes, and that interest has to go back towards the repayment of debt. Any interest there, it can't be routed to other educational needs. It can only be used on the repayment of the debt, which means, ultimately that can be used down the road to potentially even shorten the term over which the district repays the debt.
Great, thank you. Other questions? Certainly many more updates to come. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for the update. I think you may have the next item on the agenda, perhaps. All right. After bond issuance update, we move then to our discussion items. And first is our 2025-2026 staffing plan. Mr. Hanson.
This is a brief update. At our last meeting a month ago, we talked about some of the key priorities that factor into the staffing plan. What we're doing tonight is presenting the staffing plan for first view for discussion. This is the typical timeline that we follow for this process. And then at the next meeting towards the end of April is when the staffing plan comes forward for approval by the board. And that comes along side by side with contract renewals for certified staff and teachers and so forth. All of those timelines are really built around a number of key statutory timelines for when contracts get renewed for teachers and things like that. So I'll do a very brief update of, again, what comes into the staffing plan, information you've seen before, so I'll go pretty quickly, and then a few highlights from the staffing plan. The staffing plan document is attached and available. It's 19 or 20 pages, so we just try to highlight a few of the key items as we present it for the first time. So again, reviewing, the staffing plan gets built around three key areas. What are our student needs, where is our enrollment, and what does the budget allow for? Again, student needs comes down to a variety of areas, from academic to student services, ensuring students can access education. And then when we turn to enrollment, we've looked at these charts many times. We know that the declining enrollment bubble is hitting the high school really for the first time in a substantial manner next year, as you can see with that 9th grade number looking lower. So that certainly factors into the development of those staffing projections. And then when we look at the budget and what the budget allows, this chart you've seen many a time demonstrating the over time widening gap between the rate of inflation versus the increase in revenue limit allocated to school districts by the state. A challenge that all school districts deal with, and it's our responsibility as the administration to find a path forward each year, regardless of what that revenue limit might allow, but it's an important factor to keep in mind. Some of the key budgetary considerations we've talked about. So the state budget is a 2-year state budget, and it controls how much revenue the district will have from 2025 to 2027. It is not yet known what that budget will be, and the early indications are that budget won't be passed by the state most likely until the 2025-26 fiscal year has already started on July 1st. Some years it's done in June. Early indications are we can expect it to take longer, so we really have to keep our options open and plan conservatively, not knowing where that state budget and the revenues that come with it will be. And then we talked about last time how those federal pandemic relief ESSER funds ended this past September, and just being able to plan around that. So those are some of the key budgetary considerations in addition to enrollment declining as well as student needs increasing. Again, items that we reviewed at the last meeting. So just a few key points that you'll see as you look at the staffing plan for the coming year. So we continue to be able to right size at the elementary level classrooms, but really through attrition. So we're not calling for any layoffs of any certified staff, but we are going to be able to achieve reductions in a number of areas through retirements, normal resignations, and normal attrition in that way, which is obviously the way that you would prefer to accomplish any reductions. We continue to maintain those historical class size norms that you've seen for many years. Badger and Silverbrook look to be relatively static for the coming year. And if you remember that enrollment trend graph, it is pretty flat around that point. The high school, again, does see that declining enrollment bubble start to hit them, but we are able to accomplish the reductions that are necessary through attrition, which is good news, as well as in the student services area as those reductions continue to matriculate through the system. That being said, Ms. Melstrand in Student Services and I are in regular communication, and her team is regularly reviewing student needs as well as caseloads around student services, and the staffing plan is a living document. It fluctuates as especially those needs flow in and out of the district throughout the spring and summer.
I have a question.
Yes.
So through attrition, you're thinking we're gonna lose enough staff to cover the amount we're gonna lose per pupil? Because if I remember right, it's about $14,000 per student. Or is
So
that
the
the
revenue-
that's the cost of, or what do we get per student? Because if we're losing 137 students, per cost, what the state gives us and what we get in money from wherever. I thought it was close to $14,000.
No, so, and you've got a number of different funding sources that come together. The standard revenue limit for the school district, we are at the what's called the low revenue ceiling. It's really a low revenue floor, not a ceiling. For the current year is $11,325. It goes up another $325 next year to $11,650. There is some categorical aid that they stack on a per pupil basis as well. That does not add up to $14,000. You're probably pushing more around the mid $12,500
I mean, you're still probably
range
over
there.
$1.5 million.
Yep,
in
so we are.
savings somewhere.
Yep, so when we look at what we anticipate being able to save through that attrition around salary as well as benefits, when you add that together, we are extremely confident about being able to deliver a balanced budget, which is our obligation. That's our responsibility each year, and we've been planning for our ability to do that. So it's a good question, but absolutely, we are positioned to present a balanced budget once again with this just through attrition, which is good news, and it does take a lot of creativity and a lot of work to accomplish that, but that's the position that we are in. But it's a good question because they are big numbers and they get big very quickly when you're talking about, how much you get per student.
Mm-hmm.
So the next steps, really, I kind of discussed already. We'll bring the staffing plan again for approval at the next board meeting 2 weeks from now. That comes side by side with those certified staff contract renewals. And then again, we continue to monitor enrollment, both in all of our different areas, as well as registration at some of those secondary level classes and the student services needs, so that we can make sure we adapt as necessary and update the board as that goes, if there is any substantial adjustment that needs to be made. So that is kind of the overview of where we are today and what brings you to that giant document with a whole lot of numbers in it that's in there.
Thank you. So this is a discussion item, so we'll ask board members, any questions with regard to Mr. Hansen's presentation?
just have a quick one.
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Have we in recent years had a significant change in the size of, like, up on top, so administration, right, and all those levels? And maybe I just don't have the history. Have we gone through that right sizing in the past? Can you update me?
Sure. So we have reduced administration over time. That is demonstrated to some degree in the staffing plan. Really, the administration reduction has been going on for quite some time. So, we tend to put out an update around that. In fact, we did one around this time last year in the staff newsletter, because if you go back to like 2018, and really look over that long trend, we have substantially reduced the footprint staffing-wise of the staff in this building in the Education Services Center. So, between kind of those senior level individuals and like the cabinet level, as well as the mid-level and those kind of assisting positions have all seen decreases, as well in like the coordinator area, which is another kind of support leadership role. We've seen reductions there across the board. I mean, so for example, only a few years ago, there were 9 members of the cabinet team here in the district office. There's now 6. So, we do try to make those reductions as those opportunities come, and we've been able to demonstrate that we do that. We've also looked at the overall staffing of central office and how that has gone down, and that has, and we communicated this last year, and we'll probably communicate it again, but that has decreased at a much faster rate than, say, teaching staff as the decline enrollment has come through. So like, I remember last year looking at like, okay, from the operations sides, like finance, human resources, and so forth, I believe over the time period we were looking at, that staff, those teams were down like 19%, I want to say, whereas certified staff over the same time period, it was single digits that it was down. So certainly, where you can, you want to reduce furthest from the classroom, while also honoring the fact there's important work that gets done by the individuals here.
And I don't doubt that. I think, one, it's nice that we're transparent about that, right? Because if I was just a lower level teacher, I might be a little miffed that, well, why aren't these guys sacrificing as much as we are? So it's good to know that. And then, two, at the same time, right, we just hired a new HR director, right? So we have to be cognizant of those real costs as we're hiring these new people up on high in order to help balance the budget on the other end too. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Other questions? So next step is, as you indicated, this will come back to the April 28th meeting for action by the board?
You'll see me in 2 weeks.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next discussion item is potential collaboration with county public school districts and shared use of UW Washington County. Superintendent Wimmer, I think you're taking this one.
Yeah, so this is probably over a year and a half in the making. So recall that we started with an original task force on looking at UW Washington County property. I represented school districts in that original committee. And then eventually that did result in closure of the UW campus. I'm really happy to report that UW is opening a college center at Moraine Park. So not only will UW Milwaukee open on campus there, their vision, their shared vision is to have a more robust college center that is present in West Bend and for the region, because with that closure, that 4-year strand was something that we're feeling absent. So they have worked on that. So they have some other things in the works, and they may be presenting to the new task force, which is looking at, so now that we have this property, which is jointly owned by the county and the city, what's the vision for its use? So as a next step, all the local public school superintendents talked about what potential that could be. And maybe what kind of that slice of service we could see carving out on property for consolidation of programs. So we had sent a kind of general, hey, here's how we stand ready to help have a community conversation about this. And then more recently, they did solicit letters of interest who would be interested in kind of creating a vision for that. So we submitted again jointly as public school districts that we continue to have a vested interest. We were invited back to present. So there are 8 public school districts that are represented. Chris Reuter and I, he's the superintendent from Germantown. Others claim they were busy with board meetings and such, but so we shouldered that and represented and just expressed our interest and the property and looking at the potential to have consolidated and shared services. So right now, many of us are doing a lot of academic college readiness. That could be our alternative programs for pathways. You know, that's one thing we've talked about in our referendum work. I'm serving a lot of programs in a basement here, and maybe that's a viable campus. I'm certainly bigger than many of the neighbors district-wise, and if we had that program, could they pay towards that and have some seats and some access too? So there's that opportunity. We talked about kind of that career workforce development. We're ever expanding youth apprenticeships and having a place, instead of each one of us going out to businesses and kind of doing that, having a central hub where perhaps our businesses could come and integrate and work kind of in one location, but work with all districts in that. And then certainly that continuum of student services, access to mental health. We were just talking about one kind of slice of that. And I know they're kind of envisioning what they want that to be. We always stand up and say we are not market rate tenants. Our community has already paid for their public schools through their tax dollars, and they certainly have invested to maintain that campus. So we kind of go in with that, but if you need someone present and you need someone to help with some of the management things. So they have a theater that's been offline for the community for a year, a gym, all those spaces, you know, and sometimes homeschool programs count on those. Like, well, we're all certainly adept at kind of managing and scheduling those things. How might we be able to help in kind for that? So that was the most recent piece, was us sharing a little bit more information of what could be. I think that committee is going to explore and learn a little bit more about that UW Marine Park connection and then continue to explore their vision of what that is. I am not on that task force. That is some other members of the community. I just wanted you to know that we had kind of presented publicly on that, and that we wait and see if they're, you know, I said we're always willing to have a seat at the table for that discussion, and I'll just keep the board informed. So just
Okay.
wanted to make you aware of that and see if there were any questions or.
Board members, questions, observations? All right. We appreciate you keeping us updated. I think we're very curious about next steps.
Yeah.
Thank you. So next is
Another
County
task force I can speak about.
County Task Force representation.
So separately, we were contacted, it was actually a direct contact to President Swigert around the development of a county task force looking at the entire region around the development around Fair Park. And that's certainly a property that may be of interest in that development.
You mean Fair Park? I'm sorry, Fair Park Elementary School.
Fair Park
Not the-
Elementary School.
Not the
Yes,
Fair Park.
thank you. Yep,
problem.
community-wise, it's Fair Park Elementary that we are closing as a school. But they are looking at development in that corridor, in that area. So they are seeking to start a separate task force that looks at that. And because we have a property in that, they're asking for a representation. So I know they had reached out to you personally, Mr. Swigert, but we were talking about anytime we do representation from the board, if we're doing that, we run that through the board, whether it was on the benefits committee, in negotiations, at CISA, at Head Start, those kinds of things. So we thought that ask was probably optimal timing as we look at reorganization at the next couple meetings. So I just wanted to foreshadow that, put that out for any questions. Mr. Swigert certainly took that call and could have detail if you're interested on that, but that's how we talked about perhaps. So if anyone has some initial interest or questions, we certainly would take that now, but I would look to put that in that that lineup for formalized representation in a future agenda.
Thank you. And I had requested that the county supply a little bit more information, a little more background, so perhaps we can include that in the materials for next time for the board. So appreciate you bringing that up, because in the spirit of full transparency, just wanted to mention that, and I think it's intriguing what the county is looking to do. So any immediate questions? No action really tonight, but otherwise we'd look to include that as part of our organizational meeting to talk about assignment to the task force.
And that would come at our first meeting in May. I'll foreshadow that at our next board meeting, all those different roles. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more information on kind of roles and responsibilities. And at any time, any member can express interest in serving in that capacity so that we can include that as part of that meeting.
Great, thank you. So probably the better timing is I'll try to bring back more information to share at the next meeting, but then the assignment would take place in May to the committee. All right. Any other questions on that? All right.
Jen, are you looking at me?
I know that item was intriguing to you. I didn't know if you wanted to formally express your
Sure,
interest.
I'll
You
just
don't
ex-
have
I'll
to
just
at
express
this
that
time,
obviously
but-
I have connections with the city and county and those relationships, and I'd be happy to serve as that rep if the board would like.
Okay, thank you.
So, no problem.
All right. We'll move then to our action items, and we'll, I believe, invite Mr. Hanson back to the podium. Our action item tonight is Bond Proceeds Management Agent Agreement. Mr. Hanson.
Real quick, before I get to that, I want to be able to give accurate and quick data to Mr. Jenkins' question, because he asked an excellent question, because we always want to make sure that we're keeping our resources in the classroom as much as possible, and I was actually able to find the communication that we sent out last year, so I can give you some exact numbers. So the data we had looked at went back to the 2017 to 18 school year, and kind of looking over long-term, you know, how staffing has adjusted over time, and I think it demonstrates a trend that we have tried to maintain. So over that time period, from 17-18 until last year, enrollment had declined just a little over 13%. In that same time period, certified staff or teaching staff had declined 4.7%, right? So we had been able to keep those staff in the classroom in that time period, whereas central office staff had gone down almost 14% over that same time period. So really, like we had talked about, you know, trying to, you know, keep those resources as close to where student learning takes place as possible. And then I was right that the, you know, out of that 13.7% for the entire central office that it went down, the finance and HR department together was down 19.3% over that time period. The cabinet team was down from 10 to 6 administrators over that time period. So it is a goal of the district, and I think we've been able to demonstrate that, and we're going to continue to work to maintain that target. So I appreciate you asking the question, because it's a question that definitely the community is interested in.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so bond proceeds management. So this is tying in from where we left off when we were talking about where the bond sale is at and where we will be closing on the bonds this Wednesday and receiving the $80 million in proceeds. So that takes us to the next step with that. So what is proceeds management? Okay, so it's financial advising and management specifically for the referendum bonds and what we do with those dollars. It helps the district maximize the interest that it gets back for that on those investments. It helps in advising about what term of type of investment, as well as how much to be in fixed versus variable rate types investments, to really maximize how much interest the district can earn off of that. And then on top of that, it provides strategic financial advising around managing arbitrage. And arbitrage, we've talked about, really exciting topic, but it is the federal government puts a cap on how much interest a public entity, such as a school district, we can earn. It puts a cap on how much we can earn off of that. But if you manage it well, you can keep all or virtually all of that interest and keep it within your projects and use it on your referendum projects. If you don't time that out right or don't manage it well, you can end up repaying a chunk of your interest earnings to the federal government. I mean, it's almost like you did too well investing the money, but and that's your consequence. But if you manage it, you know, as best possible, you can keep more of those dollars in the district and in the projects. So there's a lot of advising that goes in to managing that. So in order to identify a partner, really we're looking at partners in a couple of different lanes. We're looking at both partners around proceeds management, which we met with multiple partners that there aren't a lot of agencies in the state that do that, but we met with multiple partners there, as well as the district looking on its own and meeting with multiple banks about what type of rates the district can get, because any investments that the district makes itself outside of of a proceeds management firm, then the district keeps an even larger share of the interest, right? So in a lot of cases, you'll see school districts just hire a proceeds management firm, say, do the whole thing for us. That's fine, that's a common strategy, but that also results in you paying a higher fee and keeping less of the interest in the district. Our goal is really to look at a combination strategy because we have some really good relationships with our current bank who offers some really attractive rates that we can pair with some work by a proceeds agency. So all of that interviewing, all of that research led us to a recommendation to partner with American Deposit Management, or ADM, as the firm that would be our proceeds management agent. A little bit about them. Again, they're not the kind of companies that you hear about often. Excuse me, I've been up here too much today. All right. So they're local, they're in Pewaukee. You can see they have quite a few districts that they work with. This is really their wheelhouse. One of the things ADM has that also was attractive is they also have a secure vendor payment service. When you are cutting payments to contractors for, in a single month, several $1 million in some cases, it's good to have an additional layer of security around the insurance that those funds are transferred accurately to the correct recipients and so forth. So that additional service is certainly valuable to the district. So what would ADM do for the district? So what it does first is it creates a laddered strategy of, okay, you should invest this much money for this long, this much for this long, and so forth, keep this much liquid, this much in a fixed rate investment versus this much in a variable. They provide all that investing, and again, it's all timed out to try and maximize your interest earnings, but also so that you can expense it quickly enough that you can avoid a lot of those arbitrage consequences and keep those dollars in the district. They also then collaborate with our bank, and ADM really stepped forward as a partner that we interviewed that would do, I think, the most effective job of partnering with our bank, because our current bank, which is Bank 5-9, really, we've been with them for a long time and really values our business and really has some very attractive rates that honestly no other bank was able to match as we met with them. So we really wanted that combination approach so that we could take advantage of them. You know, some of these management agencies really want to keep the investments just kind of in their menu of options, right? But those menus aren't necessarily going to have the great rates that we were able to negotiate directly with our own bank. So doing that combination and having ADM work between us and the bank is really going to be an advantage for keeping things moving smoothly. They then coordinate regularly with the districts to have that secure, multi-user authenticated payment system. They monitor the investment performance on a daily basis, right? So if there's money that should be moved around as we go, they are monitoring regularly and advising on that. As the market evolves, they'll continue to give us that information. And then they continually are looking at that potential arbitrage liability and giving us advice on maybe how to reduce any potential arbitrage responsibility the district might have. So really the next steps are there's a resolution that we would recommend the board approve today, which declares ADM as the bonds proceed management agency for the district. The district has the right to change this agency at any time. You're not locked in for any kind of term. If we decided at any time in the future we want to go with a different one, we can drop everything and move it at any time. So I don't want the board to think that you're locking into something for the entire life of the projects as they go. So that's also good because it forces ADM to be continually proving their worth to us, right? And continually proving why we should continue to maintain our business with them over the entire 3-year period that the projects take place. Upon that approval, ADM almost immediately then starts coordinating with our bank and putting together that investment strategy as that would go into place really starting Wednesday when those funds land in the district's accounts. So it's a quick overview of something that's not always the most exciting, but it is a very important topic for everybody to be aware of.
Thank you. Any questions, board members? We're going to be asked to take action on this. Mr. Jenkins.
Got a quick one. How does ADM get paid? Did I miss that?
Yep. So the way these firms get paid is a sliver off of the interest rate. So let's say the district has an investment that earns 4.5%, right? So they get a sliver off of that interest rate. This is where it is beneficial that the district has taken, or the administration has taken the time to negotiate independently with our bank, because since our bank we've negotiated such a favorable rate directly with them, all the money we place directly with our bank, ADM will collect no fee. That substantially reduced the amount of potential fee that we would be paying to an ADM. So when we talk to these bonds proceeds agencies, many of their fees were going to be $150,000, $160,000. we're over, off of $80 million. Through the strategy that we are pursuing, it's most likely it's going to be just a little bit over $20,000. And that's really because we didn't just say, here, hire a firm and you do everything. We did our own homework there, and that's going to allow us to substantially reduce what that fee is.
And then did ADM provide any sort of, I guess, like estimate of what the interest earned would be over the life of management?
So they create a number of scenarios, right? Because it's nobody has that crystal ball. So I wouldn't want to stand up here and tell you, expect to earn this much interest, right? We also are in a pretty unusual interest environment for municipalities as well as school districts right now. Right now, the rates are pretty outstanding. And you saw some of that when Baird was here a few months ago, and they were showing some of their charts around where that history has been. At this point, there's, the national economic environment is a little bit more unpredictable than some other times. So, they don't really want to say, hey, count on earning this, but certainly share some of those scenarios once we sit down with ADM as an approved agency and talk about them. But we also looked at, so every one of those agencies provides kind of a projection or a goal and so forth. But again, you're also looking at, okay, here's where the rates are now. You're trying to guess where they're going to be next year as well as a year later, because our projects, again, we have a pretty comprehensive referendum that's taking place over several years.
And I just want to share, and not that I'm against this, but in my little bit of experience that I've had in doing this too, we've looked at, through municipal borrowings, looking at different vendors that are going to manage it. And personally, it ended up earning more interest just with us managing it, right, than what the predictors would have been through them. And it doesn't mean that they wouldn't have rid the waves too, right, as the interest rates went up and down. But I'm always a little skeptical of a financial advisor coming in and saying, well, don't worry, we can earn you this amount of interest. Not that I don't trust these guys and I'll vote to approve it, but I appreciate that you're marrying that with your oversight too, and our local bank and other things too, so that we were not just throwing the full bucket to these guys to say, well, good luck, and we hope that you can manage it properly, so.
So you and I are equally skeptical of finance bros.
Yes.
That's kind of how I look at it, because everybody's coming in with their sales pitch.
Yep.
They got their spiffy vest on, right? They all are just telling you how great it's going to be, and you really start boiling down, like, what are you really going to do, right? And I think one of the biggest things that we get for the fee, which again is substantially reduced because of this approach that we're taking, that arbitrage management is going to be a big deal on this project compared to if you were doing this project just a few years ago, because the rates are so high. Great for us, we're going to earn some interest, but we don't want to be cutting a check for $500,000 back to the IRS because we earned too much money, right? So I think that's probably where they are going to be they're going to be of value in a lot of ways, but especially high value for us because we are in a very unique economic environment where we have such an opportunity to earn interest, but if we don't manage it well, we're not going to get to keep as much of it as we want. So, no, I am a equal skeptic of everybody's a salesperson.
Yep.
And we're here to be the gatekeeper on that. We will be placing the majority of the proceeds through those vehicles that were negotiated directly by the district. And that we will pay no fee on, and that is how we are substantially reducing what that potential is. But you've seen that. The majority of government agencies say they just hand it off and say, do it. And I just don't operate that way, so.
Great, thank you.
And I'm not making this, I shouldn't make it seem like I'm making this decision in isolation either. We've had several people within the team who review this as well, so.
Well, you and I agree. I mean, we do it for a living, so we see it, so, thank you.
Other questions? So this is an action item. Mr. Donaldson, in advance of the meeting, you had expressed your desire to abstain from this. Does that still remain?
Correct.
Great, okay.
With the upcoming change of guard and the inability to oversee the outcome, I feel it appropriate to abstain from this.
Very well. All right. Just for the avoidance of surprise, just wanted to mention that. Any other questions? Hearing none, I would move to adopt the resolution approving an authorized agent for the district bond proceed funds as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll go on to Kelly. Kelly, thank you. Motion and second to adopt the resolution approving an authorized agent for the district bond proceed funds as presented. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain?
Aye.
We'll mark Mr. Donaldson as abstaining. That motion carries. Thank you. We appreciate it, Mr. Hanson. Appreciate your presentation. We move now to future agenda items, and on our future agenda items, we'll talk about the board meeting calendar. So these are the meetings upcoming for our various board and committees. On April 22, we have a curriculum committee meeting at 4:30 p.m. at the Education Service Center. April 28th, regular board meeting, 5:30 p.m., Education Service Center. May 6th, a policy committee meeting, 4 p.m., Education Service Center. And May 12th, regular board meeting, 5:30 p.m. at the Education Service Center. So we encourage the public, though, to take a look at the official meeting postings in the event that the date or time or place may change. Any other additions to the board meeting calendar? All right, and any other items for follow-up and communication? Well, and I'll just say, Mr. Donaldson, in advance, you had communicated your desire that the board refrain from expressing any accolades or thanks for your service, and so out of respect, we're going to honor that request, but please do accept the board's best wishes for success in your future endeavors. With that, I would move to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Temez. We have a motion and second to adjourn. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries, and we stand adjourned. Thank you to everyone who attended and watched, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting.